Hello, very good afternoon. Hundreds of people in the north of England and in North and Mid Wales are without power this lunchtime as the UK struggles with the continued effects of the week's bitter weather. Motorists and rail passengers have been told to expect continued disruption, with Scotland receiving the heaviest snowfall and some of the lowest temperatures in the UK. Elsewhere, it's expected to get milder. As the snow begins to melt, the Environment Agency has issued 13 flood warnings for parts of north east and south west England. Our correspondent Dan Johnson reports.
Another day of Britain taking a battering. After the snow come the high tides and the flood warnings. On the southwest coast, the sea's taken over the railway line at Dawlish. On the outskirts of Cardiff, the snow's still hanging around. 400 homes across Wales are without power. Some people have now seen enough.
Very pretty and all that, but I must admit it's getting on my nerves now.
It has affected me in terms of not being able to go to work.
I didn't expect it to be as bad as it's been, but yeah, we're getting cabin fever now.
The motorway across the Pennines was deserted for more than a day because of heavy snow and high winds. Leeds and Manchester were finally reconnected earlier this morning.
The traffic may be flowing here, but most of the roads across these hills are still blocked with snow, and there are strong winds in places too, potentially causing more snowdrifts.
Further north, the A1's reopened, the A66 is still blocked. Over the border, just look what the trains are having to plough through in Scotland, with even more snow expected to fall. Rail travel's difficult across the UK. As well as snow and ice, services on Northern and Merseyrail are affected by strike action. Thousands of flights have also been cancelled. Teams are battling to keep runways open. In Manchester, officers searching for a man who went missing after leaving a nightclub pulled a body from the canal. Scarborough's one of many places now starting to clear up. There are flood warnings in place in the southwest and the northeast. The long thaw may now have begun, but more problems could still come. Dan Johnson, BBC News.
Well, some of the worst disruption remains in Scotland, where much of the rail network is badly affected. Our correspondent Katrina Renton is at Glasgow Central Station now. Katrina, it's been the coldest start to March on record. What are the signs, if any, of improvement?
Quite a lot, actually. I have some good news for you. It's still far from a typical Saturday here at Glasgow Central Station, but services are starting to run. There are still no trains between Scotland and England, but final checks are happening, and it's hoped that the West Coast Main Line will be back up and running later today. And ScotRail tell me they hope for a full train service tomorrow, so looking ahead, that looks good. Also on other travel, well, airports and on the roads, still take extra care and check before you travel to the airports. We do have forecasts for more snow here, so of course untreated roads still icy. Now, the Scottish Government have urged people to carry on that community spirit that we've seen over the last few days and to keep helping each other out. The picture around the rest of the UK, well, as we heard Dan say there, it is gradually improving, but of course there are still warnings for icy roads, so of course they remain treacherous. And then there's the next thing, isn't there, when the snow starts to melt, and there are flood warnings in place for parts of the southwest and northeast of England. But with all of this disruption that we've had over the last few days around the UK, of course it will take some time to get everything back on track.
Katrina Renton at Glasgow Central Railway Station, thank you. Consumer groups have criticised the energy company E.ON's announcement that it's raising prices for many of its customers. The company, one of what are known as the Big Six energy suppliers, is scrapping the discounts offered to some of its dual fuel customers, as well as removing the discount for those who opt for paperless billing. Well, our business correspondent Joe Lynham is with me. Joe, we often tend to think that where one of the energy companies leads, others will follow. Will they?
Too soon to say yet. Now, E.ON will say, of course, that they are not raising prices, but rather they are making it simpler and easier for customers to understand their tariffs and compare them with other suppliers. Basically, they're scrapping the discounts for dual fuel customers, as you said, and that has the effect of raising the cost for customers from next month by £22 on an average bill. The real issue is whether this will spread and cause a new wave of price rises. We don't know yet, but we do know that oil prices are up 14% in the last year. We know that there was a huge spike in wholesale gas prices as a direct result of the beast from the east that we've had over the last few days. But we also know that companies buy in bulk. They buy in large quantities, and that hedges them or protects them against these spikes in demand so that they shouldn't have to directly raise their prices as a direct result. The other key thing to remember, Sean, is that wholesale gas prices is only one part of your bill, up to 40% of your bill. Distribution, getting it through your pipes and cables, which has nothing to do with the energy companies, is about a quarter of your bill, and their profits around 5%.
It is an environment at the moment where the energy companies are facing quite a lot of political pressure. Are they worried at all about the implications of price rises?
Well, I mean, there's a price cap on its way. The government is introducing a price cap on standard variable costs, going to be in force by next winter, probably. And then, of course, there is the Labour Party. The opposition party is talking seriously about renationalising a lot of energy companies and water suppliers as well. So a lot of pressure on the energy companies on both sides.
Joe Lynham, thank you. A number of people have been injured and at least 100 arrested in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. Clashes between police and anti-government demonstrators occurred after the authorities ordered a search of a protest camp near the parliament. Scientists are trialling a new camera which could help with the early detection of one of the deadliest forms of cancer. Almost 8,000 people died from esophageal cancer in the UK last year. Now, doctors and physicists in Cambridge have joined forces to develop a new camera that could pick out abnormal cells before they develop into cancer. Our science correspondent Richard Westcott reports.
Right now, this is how you find one of Britain's deadliest cancers.
Close. Open.
Esophageal cancer kills 21 people a day because it's so difficult to spot. Using a camera with a normal white light on the end, the doctor's looking at the dark red patch. These physicists already use different coloured lasers to study electrons. Now they're adapting the technique to look for early signs of disease.
What happens as the tissue becomes cancerous is that you get a change in the chemical composition, and different chemicals have different colours, which means that if we look at the cancer with a technique that allows us to capture information from all of the different colours of light that are being reflected, we can get a fuller picture of the disease state that's present.
And this is how it might look.
2/3 of our patients will present with a cancer that's already spreading to the lymph glands, and then after that it can go to distant organs like the liver. If we treat a cancer at the point at which it's still within the tissue itself of the esophagus and it hasn't spread anywhere at all, then we can remove it all and cure it.
And that's exactly what happened to Jackie. They caught her disease in time, and now she's fine.
I knew there was something wrong. People shouldn't have heartburn for 20-odd years. Well, actually it was 30-odd years.
They'll start trialling the new camera on patients in the next few weeks. If successful, it could also be used to spot other cancers before they become fatal. Richard Westcott, BBC News.
Right, let's take a look at all the sporting action for the weekend. And Mike Bushell is at the BBC Sports Centre. Afternoon to you, Mike.
Yes, good afternoon.
Have a good afternoon.